My name is Audrey, and this is my husband, Henry. We don't want to hurt you or your baby. We feel this would be the best way for you to go missing.
Yes, horror fiends, it is time for us to tell you a little story in this new episode of What's Your Story here on Horror Fiend TV. I am joined by the fourth corner, yes, the fourth corner herself, and I know she's just waiting to talk about possibly some spine tingling moments in this one. So, Lexi, how are you doing? And are you ready for this unique film?
Yes, I am doing great. I am ready to talk about anything on this film.
So, what film are we going to be talking about? Well, this one, secret, we actually reviewed it for Three Corners of Horror, but stored it away in our vault. And I'm kind of glad that we could circle back and bring this up because this film is definitely a film you should watch. It has a lot of elements of good storytelling, good visuals, and some a lovely couple who's trying to do their best to be happy.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
No one has more time than a grieving family. We can do this. He's coming back to us.
Trick or treat.
Directed by Justin G. Deck, cast includes Julian Richings as Henry, Shelley McCarthy as Audrey, Constantina Montelos as Shannon Becker, Josh Crudis as our favorite redhead Ian. So, what's the synopsis of this paranormal film? Well, you have a lovely elderly couple who decides that they're going to kidnap a pregnant woman and, through a spell book, bring back the spirit of their dead grandson Jackson in order to occupy the unborn baby that Shannon carries. But little did they know that the spirits they were looking to bring up weren't the ones they really wanted. So, Lexi, I know there's a lot of things we want to talk about in this film. And for us, a lot of films have great storytelling, but also have great characters. Now, in the beginning of this film, we are introduced to this lovely couple, Henry and Audrey. So, the question I have for you is one, what was your first impression of this couple? And two, did you understand exactly why they were doing what they were deciding to do?
So I don't remember if it was Rick or Joe or you that have like a small fear of like children, like ghost children and all that. My fear, I feel like, is the elderly
Yeah.
because they've like lived their life and the trauma and stuff of life that can hit them. You can see it seep through these type of films. Like, look at what's the one we did about the elderly people? They just got tired of being in that mental home.
Old people.
Old people, yeah. And then like I think you recently just spoke about the elderly and it's like I'm just scared. And I work with like the elderly with patients at the hospital, so it's just like they freak me out. So this one, there was a lot of jump scares in this one, especially when we got to see these different spirits come out. So it's like, but Audrey and Henry, they're pretty creepy in itself. I mean, we have the cold open where they're sitting at the breakfast table. They look all innocent, just a nice couple enjoying each other throughout life. And all of a sudden, they're both dragging in this pregnant woman. I was like, oh, wait, hold up a minute. See, this is why I don't fuck with the elderly. Respect your elders. Like, just respect them. Um, yeah, I that was a good setup and it lured you in quickly because it's like, why are they dragging her in? And then, they introduced their reason of bringing Jackson, their grandson, back. So I was like, okay, this lured you from the very beginning. So it was interesting. But again, respect your elders. They creep me out. Y'all can be scared of the children. I'm scared of the elders.
Yeah, it was interesting. I did like that opening sequence. Here comes Henry down the stairs, starts, you know, kind of complaining, but he was so very gentlemanlike. He goes, "I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that when you hem my pants, one side is a little higher than the other." And he stands up and see, and all of a sudden, oh, she's here, she's here. Which there is one plot hole in the beginning I'm curious about, but because who brought Shannon to the house, I still didn't know who did it. But like you said, they bring her in, and they're dragging her into this other door, and then Henry tells her, "Hit her, hit her." I mean, Audrey just popped her once, was hesitant, hit her again, which didn't even knock her out. I mean, she was still struggling,
I
but
think
it
she
just
was doing it
shows,
with her hands, wasn't she?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But it was like, you didn't see it coming, and you're right, it immediately hooked you in, and then the scene that I kind of enjoyed was when Shannon's in the bed and Audrey's just sitting there and she's introducing herself and then she's introducing Henry and then they go to this whole dialogue that we feel like this is the best way to keep you while you're missing. And then they're like, "Oh, let's do the test." Now when they said let's do the test, I'm like, what the hell are they talking about?
Like medical tests or
Yeah. So Henry goes outside and they take off the gag from Shannon so she could yell and they could hear her outside, whether or not the new soundproof room they built was able to hold her screams, which was it was funny because they were like you said, they were creepy, but at the same time they were so calm and cool and collected that you're like,
oh, look, they were also fragile, like
yes.
skinny little old people. And like, let me just mention The Taking of Deborah Logan. If you haven't seen it, that's a good film to watch. And stay tuned with JR. So she's skinny and freaky. Like, if you haven't, like, a good film. But that's what these two reminded me of was Deborah Logan. And you can see the dynamic between the two. Just like one obviously wanted Jackson more than the other. The husband's going along with what his wife wants, but like they're just so fragile and creepy. I would have knocked the ass out.
It was. They were very. I mean, you could picture them being somebody's grandparents, and the fact that they love their grandson so much, and later on in the movie, you get the backstory of exactly what happened to Jackson, which you meet him in the beginning because while Shannon is tied up, she wakes up, looks around, but she's woken up by a little boy. And then this is where you start realizing, wow, okay, so is this house haunted? Is there a spirit in this house? And this is prior to the actual ritual. So Audrey was like, "Oh my God, you see him? You see him?" And they were excited because, according to them, is the spirit has to reveal itself in order to want to come back.
Right.
So, which leads us to the fact that Audrey, which I feel like she was the more dominant of as far as the couple goes, she's outside and she's playing with the spell book. And Henry comes around. And he was like, you shouldn't be having this thing outside. So she goes, look what I could do. Picked her finger, put it on the crow, said the spell, and the crow basically came back to life. And she had said a comment. Henry was like, you shouldn't be doing this. She goes, "Oh, I've been doing this all day." Which you're like, oh, what's this? This is not going to be good. So they do this ritual, and the ritual scene is amazing. You had the actual demon that they were looking to call show up, but afterwards there were other tormented entities that showed up. So I got to ask you, because you are a big paranormal fan, especially with the Conjuring series.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I have for you is: you had these paranormal entities show up. Which one or two in particular kind of stood out for you, especially creepy?
The one that creeped me out the most, or I don't even know what to call him, but it was the guy with the bag over his head, and he's just like, what a great contortionist. He was very creepy, and especially like the way he entered into the scene, coming from underneath the bed, like as a child, you don't like looking under your bed. You're scared. There might be monsters, and there's truly a monster under this bed, where the poor Shannon is the pregnant lady is laying in the bed, and he freaked me out the most. But I thought he was the best spirit to come through. Besides, what was it? The demon that led them all in, Shugart, I believe,
Yeah.
was the demon that brought them in. But and I think he was like that big scary crow in the very beginning. He was the very first one we met. But yeah, Mr. Contortionist guy was the one that freaked me out the most. I feel like, and she's not even part of the entity, but Audrey scared me the most too, because she had that, she kept saying, like, we need to save face. We need to keep up with appearances. And there was moments where she was really sweet. She had a moment with Shannon. And then I loved the fact that she would be like, oh, don't curse in the house, honey. And so I'm thinking, oh, this is an old church lady. And they go to church and they're all like, all hail Satan and doing ritual. I was like, oh, so she's that type of girl. Oh, so she really freaked me out because you didn't know what side of her you were going to get. But as far as spirit wise, definitely the contortionist guy scared me.
I know when we reviewed this on Three Corners, so I'm gonna let you guys know which entity Joe Psychologist and Ricky Grimes were like, oh, about. But see, I have this thing about teeth in horror movies,
Yes.
and Henry is laying down in bed, and he thinks Audrey is in the bathroom brushing her teeth. So you hear this, and then all of a sudden you see teeth fall on the ground. And when the spirit turns around, it's a woman flossing, but she's flossing so hard that her teeth are coming out one by one.
Ooh,
That was just so twisted. I'm like, oh, I mean, who likes to go to the dentist really? And then
really.
to see that, you're like, oh my God, this
That's
is
a
too
horror
much.
in itself.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then I'm sitting there, and the fact that they show her on multiple occasions, I'm like, all right,
Right.
this is good that they did, but
They
it's still
showed both
freaky.
of those two characters multiple times. I mean,
Yes.
I don't like people flip flopping, coming running towards me freakily. So it's like, and yeah, you're right. That one freaks me out too.
And the one, because, like I said, kids are creepy in horror movies.
Mhm.
And there's a knock on the door. So she opens the door, and it's a little kid in a ghost outfit going trick or treat.
Mhm.
Audrey is so, oh, I can't help you. Please go. And sorry. Close the door. The knock comes again. Kids in the front door. The knock comes again, but the
And
kid's inside the house. And she runs upstairs, and all you see is this kid stand there staring, and then run around on certain occasions.
now, at first, I thought that was like kind of plain type of spirit coming through, but then the ghosts started growing, and so I thought that was a good add to it because I was like, if you're gonna keep it that's the lamest spirit coming in, but coming through the elevator and then the ghost is growing from kid to God knows probably an elderly under there.
that,
Like,
that
yeah,
ghost was just so freaky.
it was so plain, but it worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked to perfection because, like you said, it grew. When it grew massive, it was like basically to almost touching the ceiling. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's what I like about this film, because the entities were all different. It was very, very versatile as far as the different type of entities. There was one that I'm not going to mention. He was doing certain things that you just don't want to see, but he's a tormented soul, so I guess that was his torment. But there's a scene in the film where this character Rory, who always came by, always, he did landscaping work for Henry and Audrey, and he comes by at the scene, and at the time when they're doubting if what they did was the right thing to do. Now this is like a couple minutes prior to this, you had Audrey asking Henry if they did the right thing, and Henry saying we're over our heads. And then Rory comes to the house, starts talking to Henry, and then they're basically inside, trying to calm each other down, wondering if they did it right. And then Rory, with his eyes all black, no, you did it right. Henry's in the house.
Oh, that part, yeah.
And then slams his head into the snowblower, which very original. I did not. I knew something was going to happen with the snowblower. I just didn't know if that was the decision. But
He was creepy too, like that annoying pesky neighbor.
yeah,
Like I just told you, like fuck off my property, like many times. But the way he reacted, he's a little over the top for me. But he was definitely creepy. Yeah, and that part was actually unexpected, and I was like, oh, okay. But it was gruesome and awesome at the same time. Like
yeah.
all the kills were just awesome in this film.
Well, the thing too is like you didn't realize he was a spirit either. You didn't know he was a spirit.
Hmm.
And that's what I think I liked about this too. Is you didn't know who was a spirit. I mean, you had another one that came later on, a cop. But after that moment, Henry, after he basically took the body parts of Rory and kind of put him, a couple yards from the house, but he starts wondering if they need help. So he reaches out to this character Ian. Now, you mentioned before how Audrey and Henry went to a church and they sat there in a group with Satan worshippers. Ian was there. Ian was like, it's gonna sound weird. He was an oddball in a group of oddballs.
Yeah.
But Henry reaches out, tells him about the book. Now, before Ian was mentioning he was searching for this book, and he found out somebody bought it, and he doesn't know who the buyer is. Ended up the buyer being Henry. So he invites Ian to the house, basically tells Ian everything they're doing. Ian was surprised that they were capable of doing it. Talks about the spirits, talks about the demon they brought in was the one who guards the gates and basically opened up the gates for all the tormented souls to come because they were all looking for a soul, a host. But now the question I have for you is, did you know or suspect what Ian's true intent was? Because this is towards the end of the movie where it starts really building. Did you know what his intent was as far as, when he had the book in his hands or what he really wanted to do?
I didn't suspect it. I thought he was an oddball. He was very creepy, but I didn't suspect his motives at all because I thought he truly wanted to see this actually work. Because he kept saying multiple times, like, "I can't believe this is real. Like, this is real. This book is real. The situation they're in is real." But I did not suspect his motives until Henry got that phone call from Yolanda and about how Ian just killed his mother. And I assumed that when he stabs Audrey, that maybe he wanted his mother back. Like he made a mistake. I don't know what his like true, like I didn't know his end game, but I do find it weird that he went and did that, what Yolanda said over the phone, and then now he stabs Audrey. So is he truly helping to bring a baby back, or is he has his own vindictive motive and using everybody in the house? So I did not suspect it, but it was a nice twist. I knew he was weird and not to be trusted, but it was hard to tell when he was talking, when they sat at the table and they were talking about the book and Shudgart, the demon, that they had casted already. So yeah, I didn't suspect it at all. But I do wish I knew like his end game was.
I feel like he wanted to just unleash chaos and destruction because
I can see
he
that.
was already that mindset he had. I mean, he just killed his mom. He has none to lose. I mean, he knows eventually he's going to get caught. But I feel like knowing he had the chance I mean, he wanted power too. He wanted
Mm-hmm.
basically to be like a demon himself. To be
Yeah,
honest,
something. Yeah, he was
but
very creepy. Just and the
oh
part
yeah,
where he like cut his feet. Oh my god, I can't stand like stepping on a tack by accident or a Lego, and then he's sitting there cutting his feet. I about threw up.
Well, the funny part was that he had told Henry, "Oh, you better get some salt."
Oh,
And then he goes, "Well, does it work?" He goes, "I don't effing know, Henry. Just get some salt." So when they put the salt around the pentagram, when he stepped in, he actually broke the salt,
yeah.
which is kind of ironic because he's the one that's telling them, to put the salt. He doesn't know if it works, and that was the end of him because that's when that weirdo of a spirit comes and grabs him, and I don't know what he does, but he grabs him away. But yeah, Ian's character was interesting. And it's like I wish they would have had a little bit more of him
Hmm.
because you just knew he was weird. You knew he was very knowledgeable. And the fact that he goes, "Oh, I'll do this, but I get to keep the book." Oh, by the way, $10,000 too. It looks like you guys have a lot of money. He also asks Henry, how much you bought the book for. He goes, "Well, we have no retirement fund."
Hmm.
Which you're like, this poor couple. Like I knew what they were trying to do, but still, yeah, it's just like his intent was just to unleash chaos.
Hmm.
So there's one more character that we kind of, this is the bonus question, we kind of didn't talk about, Shannon.
Hmm.
Now, Shannon went through one hell of a tremendous ordeal in this film.
Yeah.
So why did you think that she was the one that was chosen?
Well, there was a moment because Henry was the doctor, and the part you mentioned where they first kidnap her, she wakes up and sees Audrey there. She's reading off a little piece of paper, introducing themselves, and she goes, "As by now you should know my husband." I was like, from the door, like, and then but you see that the story unravels a little bit where they flash back because there was a couple of flashbacks which I enjoyed and liked because you start to understand the background of Shannon, but she didn't really mention like the father. Was it a one night stand? Was it something else that I don't want to get that into that, but obviously the father's not in the picture. And so I felt like took that as their motive to this is the one we're choosing. Cause you can also see she's not sure if she wants to even keep the child. But she also said she didn't believe in like any other options besides just having the child. But then you see other flashbacks where she's like, I was nervous at first, but now, so now you see Henry feel bad. Like he knew this was wrong. He
Yeah.
was doing this all for his wife. He loves his grandchild too. Of course, like if I lost like my child or my future grandchild, I would hope and wish and pray that they would come back, but that's just not reality. They just went past reality and were sick. And I've said this many times on Horror Fiend TV. I am a Christian. I believe in our Lord and Savior. I just, I don't go anywhere near the devil. So when I saw the whole church hailing Satan thing, I was like, oh, Lord, I was going like this. Please forgive me for watching. This is as close to the devil as I'm getting, is doing, coming on to Horror Fiend TV and talk about horror movies. That's as close as I'm getting. But I swear I pray and, forgive me, whatever. But, I feel like their reason of choosing Shannon is just that conversation the doctor had in the beginning with her, is that she was unsure, and so he wasn't going to feel as bad. But then he started to as time went on. Um, Now Shannon, she's good in her. She was a great character within herself. Like there was moments where it bothered me where she had her hand out of the cuff. She could have smacked a bitch and got out of there and stuff. Like there was moments where she could have got out, but I can understand trying to keep your child safe too. Like you're carrying a child and you can lose it at any moment. But um, she's been trying to get her hand out of the handcuffs, and then all of a sudden she got it out at the end. I was like, that's the moment you got your hand out. Gosh, um, yeah, I thought she was a great character. Overall. I just wish that she, she kicked a little ass.
But I kind of like when the end scene where everything goes chaotic. Ian stabs Audrey because basically that's the life. You have to sacrifice a life in order for the demon to come.
Hmm.
And the fact that Shannon was able to finally get free, and she's actually telling Henry, "Come on, let's go, let's go." And then he's telling her, "You go, you go. Save yourself. Go."
Yeah,
I
because
liked that a lot because
yeah,
yeah, because it showed. I mean, he still it was weird. They were bad people, but they weren't really bad people because you kind of understood why they were doing what they were doing, and the fact that you go into the backstory of how the daughter was driving the car, she was fussing because she always fussed about Jackson, and lo and behold, they get into a car accident. She's paralyzed. Jackson dies. Yeah, like I like the fact that Shannon was trying to get into the minds of both of them. She was very, when she was talking to Audrey, she was like, "Oh, let me raise a child. You guys are old. Let me raise a child. Let me be the mother in child's life." And she would flip it and tell Henry, "Listen, I had a conversation with Audrey. She said she's gonna let me be the mom." And he was like, "Well, you can't have a was it you can't have a argumentative conversation with me because you're gonna lose." And she kept going. Then at the end, and he was like, just go, run." But I kind of like that her character was very grounded, and the fact that when she's escaping, the Rory character, he's yelling at her, saying that it's all your fault. Your marriage failed. You cheated, which made you wonder. All right, that is the baby of an affair that she had that she's carrying. So,
Right. It made me
which
question that. Yeah. But he kept saying Jenny, which was his wife.
right,
So, yeah. And I think he was the torment. He was yelling out his torment. So,
this is interesting. Definitely an interesting film. So, yeah, let's wrap this one up. I know this film you could about for a long time.
yeah.
It's that it's that interesting. But yeah, any closing thoughts on what's your score on this one?
Um, Closing thoughts. So, you said in the beginning, like, the loophole with bringing Shannon in. I think the loophole was she walked by every morning because I guess they lived nearby or something, but she would walk. And I think they were waiting for her to walk by. And I noticed that Audrey saw out the window, oh, she's here. And so, like, did they set an appointment at the house to talk? Did they
Yeah,
just saw her through the window walking by? So they quickly went out and kidnapped her quickly. And so it was, I think that was possibly how that happened. But how did not like the neighbors see anything or hear anything? And how close, like, because the way they showed flashbacks, it looked like she was really close. Like, when they panned out to like look at the house is beautiful,
yeah.
huge, what,
Oh,
three
yeah.
stories maybe. And it made it look like maybe the guy coming to shovel their snow or whatever made it seem like the driveway was very long, but having the flashbacks with Shannon, it made it look like it was shorter than we thought. So I don't know how that came about, but that was my guess. um as far as all the characters, every single person we saw in the film was pretty freaking awesome, from the spirits to Audrey and Henry, and to Shannon and Ian. um Everybody killed their part. As far as my score, I'm gonna give it probably a good 4, because there was like things that I wish Shannon would have fought a little more. um in her situation, because she got her hands out of the cuffs twice. And so I was like, punch her or something. Like, I thought she was going to stab Audrey when she broke that glass. And so, I mean, I would have fought, but I don't know. She was in a situation where, like you said, where she kind of felt for them. Like, I felt like she felt for them as the viewer did of the film. But she was also in mom mode trying to protect her baby and faked the water breaking. So that part was pretty cool. And she did a great job faking contractions and stuff like that. But you got to do what you got to do to get the fuck out of there. I do, however, like, I felt like this film needed to be just like 20 minutes more longer, because I wanted to know, because she saw what looked like pregnant demon her. Um, Walk across when she escaped the house, and she's driving down the alleyways and stuff, and it looked like almost demon pregnant her walking by, and then she looks down and holds her baby, and it just ends right there. I'm like, no, no. Does she die? Does she survive? Does the baby, is Jackson out? Like, I wanted to know, like, does the baby is Jackson really in there? Like, I don't know. But because the whole situation was weird. And I also wanted to know more about Audrey and Henry, because at the end you see their blood, because they both end up dying, and you see their blood trailing towards each other in the circle. So are they gonna come back, or like, I just wanted more, just like 20 more minutes. Yeah.
Now, for me, it just was a. I mean, I like this film. Yes, I like this film. I thought it was very different from what pa- other paranormal films that we watch.
Hmm.
I thought the storyline was good because you had the unlikely couple
Hmm.
that was committing this act of sacrificing a woman in order to bring back their grandchild, even though they kept telling her, one of the agreements we've made was that you're not going to get hurt in this. Then
Hmm.
later turned out that she might have to be killed, and she was trying to talk to Henry to, don't kill me, you need me. But like the characters they had, I felt like they were very well done and very grounded.
Yeah.
And when you finally get introduced to all these entities, I mean, the fact that they just show up at the craziest times, each entity was so different from the other.
Right.
It helped this film tremendously. Like, if they like I said, I would I know she walked by the house or but it just seemed like, I know they had everything timed because there was another woman that would walk by the house, and
Yeah.
she was pregnant too, which was she a spirit? Because you never know with this one. For me, I'm gonna give this a 4.5
Hmm.
because I really enjoyed it, and it was from the beginning to the end. You never lost focus of the film because
Hmm.
every single minute in the film, you were either wondering what spirit's gonna come out, what decision Audrey's gonna make, what decision Henry's gonna make, and the fact that while yes they were villains, you didn't really see them too much as villains throughout most of the film because of their behavior, the way they acted, which is totally different from a lot of
Right.
recent
Yeah, because
horror
they could have went psycho, and they're just grieving. And she said something about grief. She said, "You don't know what you lost," or something like that, until you actually grieve as a family, or
Mhm.
something along those lines. But grief apparently takes you far. Yeah, and they weren't evil. They were just, you felt for them, and I like that small change. They basically prepared her. Hey, well, you're gonna go missing, and they were just so sweet about it. And but I still found Audrey really freaky.
Yeah, it was a good movie. 4.5 for me, 4 for Lexi. I mean, what did you think of this film? It's definitely a must watch. Give this film a chance. You will enjoy it, especially if you're into paranormal films.
Mhm.
And good acting. I mean, everything in this film has something that you'll be interested in, something that quickly hooks you in and will not let you go. But
Mhm.
yes, I'm glad we did this one. This was a very, very fun film. That is it for this episode. Like I said, watch Anything for Jackson, please, because you will enjoy this film and we would like to know what you think about this film. So until next time, JR, fourth corner herself, Lexi, what's your story here on Horror Fiend TV? Like, subscribe, share, and we have a lot more storytelling to do. Next time, peace.
Bye.